GoPro remains at the top spot when it comes to sports-orientated compact video cameras. Watch any broadcast of a Daredevil stunts show or an extreme sport, and you'll doubtless spot a little box attached to an appendage or a vehicle. As prices have dropped, making these high-spec gadgets much more affordable, they're even being used by bloggers, not just by those adrenaline junkies. Welcome to IFTY's Tech Corner, where today we're looking at the GoPro HD Hero 3. Now, GoPro's late 2012 lineup of Hero 3 cameras has been split into three: the white, the silver and the black editions. Each edition sport different megapixel counts and frame rates. This black edition is the top dog with 12 megapixel sensor capable of shooting larger images with enough processing power to snap bursts of 11 megapixel images at 30 frames per second. Both the silver and the white editions shoot a slightly lower quality lens, giving lower video resolution, but still similar to that of the previous Hero 2. No matter which edition, all Hero 3s come with a built-in Wi-Fi, plus a redesigned case with a flat lens, which has led to several improvements over its predecessor. We'll take a look at these later in this video. For now, let's get stuck in and see what's inside the box. Now, at only 73 grams, this camera packs a fair punch into its small frame, with video resolutions going from WVGA through to full 1080p HD, and then even further all the way to cinema level 4K, coupled with a maximum of up to 240 frames per second for those super slow-mo shots. We're really looking at a small powerhouse of a camera here. It even produces superb stills at 11 megapixel with up to 30 11 megapixel shots per second in burst mode. That's all really pretty impressive considering it's the size of a matchbox. Now, these GoPro cameras, especially this black edition, has been in high demand over the Christmas period, and I've had this on order for quite a while. I've been anticipating its arrival and can't wait to get stuck in, to be honest. So we remove this tape, get that out of the way, and we remove the top here, and there we go. There's the actual camera itself. We'll come to that in just a second. Let's take a look at see what's inside the actual box here. We have some quick start guides here for the Wi-Fi remote and a note just telling us to update the firmware before we actually use the camera. Now, you don't expect to have to upload the firmware and so on when you first use the camera, but we have to do that first. We've also got the user manual, which is online now. We don't actually get a user manual with the actual camera itself. You have to download the manual from the actual GoPro website. There we go, that's another leaflet there, and inside the box here we have another little package, typical GoPro style. Nothing else in this box here. Let's have a look at this package here. So inside this package we have a skeleton back door, so that's so you can get better sound quality through your GoPro camera. We have a couple of mounts, a J-buckle mount, USB charging cable, just a small keyring for the remote, charging cable for your remote, some adhesive mounts and a little doohickey there which we can use to stop vibrations when your GoPro is on these mounts, and the actual GoPro battery itself. Last but not least, we have a couple of GoPro Be a Hero stickers. Now, the two main items here are the camera itself and this remote control unit. The unit can be easily attached to a keychain. It enables the user to control all functions of the camera remotely. Everything you see on the camera, you see here. It's a nice small design which retains the waterproof ruggedness needed, although I would have liked to have seen a small LCD screen on this, so you could use it to line up your shots, for example, even if it made the remote slightly bigger. Although GoPro have an app for smartphones which allow you to do this, it will be nice to have it on the actual remote control itself and remove that dependency on smartphones or on the external LCD backpack, which is a separate purchase. We'll take a look at these separate backpack solutions in some further videos. Nevertheless, this remote does feel sturdy and well made, with nice large buttons that even heavily gloved hands can operate rather easily. In order to charge the unit, we simply flip it over, pull down the little clip to remove the keyring attachment here. We then slide in our charging cable, like so, this way up, so the GoPro logo is the same side as the actual buttons, and there we go. We plug this into a USB charger and this will charge per normal. Looking at the camera itself, it comes on the same plastic base that doubles up as a stand, which comes very handy. Quick tip, don't throw this plastic base away with the box. It makes a nice little base that you can use almost like a little tripod to hold the camera upright. Some even modify this to use it as a chest mount. The actual mount attachment under the camera is the same as previous models, so you can reuse your existing mounts without having to buy new ones or take advantage of the many third-party options out there. The GoPro plastic housing itself, like the previous version, is robust enough to be knocked, dropped, drenched and thrown about. It's thinner than the previous Hero 2 housing to obviously cater for the smaller sized camera within. Button placements are in the same locations as before, with the addition of the wireless button on the side. Now there are two main benefits to this case over the previous version. Firstly, it's reported that fogging inside the case has been reduced. Although I haven't personally tested this, it may well mean you probably won't need those small anti-fogging sheets after all. The other benefit of this new case is that you can take the camera underwater without having to buy a separate dive housing. Once inside, it will produce good quality images with decent colour reproduction, even in relatively dim light. It doesn't suffer from the slight blurriness and video quality issues of the rounded lens on the Hero 2 underwater, another great bonus. There's an extra lock on the top hinge which can be fiddly with cold or gloved hands, but will guard against accidental leverage of the hinge, which actually works really well. Simply slide across and pull up on the front side of the housing to open. Now with the camera removed from its plastic housing, we can see it's smaller and lighter, by up to 25 grams. The weight reduction is very welcome for anyone that's ridden with one on top of their head. You really do feel a difference this time round. We have the signature grey look at the front, whereas the rest of the unit has a more rubbery and textured feel, which makes it much nicer to grip and hold. Now on the front of the unit we have the same small screen used to navigate the menus, with a button located in the same place as before. The only things about the camera that have got bigger are the operational buttons for the menu and shutter activation, an improvement over the previous model as it makes operating the camera inside and outside of the housing easier. The menu system itself remains pretty much unchanged, and as with previous Hero cameras, you can find yourself pressing the same button over and over to cycle through the menus when you've clicked past the option you really wanted to change. Slightly annoying, but not a huge issue. Now we also have two lights on the front of the unit, one being the standard red recording indicator, and now with the addition of a soft blue light to indicate the wireless status. Finally, we have this larger lens, which gives us the option of recording video in PAL or NTSC. Shooting modes go from WVGA at an impressive 240 frames per second through to the more common 720p at up to 120 frames per second and 1080p up to 60 frames per second. All pretty impressive. This flagship Black Edition also goes into the more exotic high definition sizes of 1440p, 2.7K and 4K, with the largest resolution being captured at 12 frames per second. Bear in mind though, although this is very impressive, 12 frames per second at 4K makes it a little choppy as you find yourself falling back to 2.7K instead. But even then, you'll need a pretty hefty computer to edit footage of this size. The lens itself also produces sharper footage with less grain in lower light conditions, something we'll test at a later date and post in a follow-up video. Now moving on to the top of the unit, we have another large shutter button here, as well as another small recording indicator in the corner. On this side we have a new button, which is the Wi-Fi on-off button, since all Hero 3 cameras now come with Wi-Fi built in. On top of this we have a small mic input, which we also have on the opposite side of the camera. The microphones on these units are stated to be much improved, and we can now capture a wider range of sounds. It's better for voices this time round too, rather than just the roar of car engines. On the opposite side, we remove this small flap to reveal a micro HDMI port and a mini USB port. Note that we lose the 3.5mm input for your external microphone, but fear not, since you can still use an external microphone, but will need to purchase a GoPro composite cable that converts the mini USB port to a 3.5mm audio jack for you to connect your external mic to. It was nice having the 3.5mm input directly on the unit, but at least we still have the option should we need to use it, although it means the purchase of another adapter. Also down in size is the memory card slot, which now utilizes micro SD cards up to 64GB for several hours of footage. A quick note in regards to memory cards: you'll want a Class 10 card such as this SanDisk Ultra for continued smooth video capture at the higher resolutions. I'll be using this 32GB card here, which would still give me a good few hours of recording HD footage. Now finally, on the back of the device we have another recording LED indicator here, along with another size reduction in the form of a smaller size battery, which gets hidden behind this rear door. The included lithium-ion 3.7 volt 1050 mAh battery gives some decent shooting time, but you'd probably want a spare or two, or a battery backpack, another accessory we'll take a look at in a future video. An added bonus is the battery finally comes with a pull tab, so we can easily remove it from the case. Finally, we have the proprietary GoPro port here and a side hinge for attaching various backpack accessories, the most common being the LCD and battery backpacks. We'll take a look at these backpacks in future videos. The new f2.8 6-element aspherical ultra-wide lens means the 12-megapixel snaps look great, a real cut above smartphones. They can shoot 30 snaps per second. You'll need the LCD Touch backpack accessory to see a live preview of your work, but burst snaps look detailed with good color balance and capture the fastest of motion without blur effects. Get the right mount and the Hero 3 is genuinely a decent camera, able to get in the smallest of places and outshoot your iPhone. The sensor and compression improvements in terms of quality over the Hero 2 are obvious when looking at 100% crops of identical photos, with a reduction in artifacts. When recording video, the metering functions cope very well across a range of light conditions and rapidly changing light conditions. The white balance is pretty great, but it's not always right in auto mode, returning magenta-tinged blues at times, but nothing that a little post-production couldn't fix. One marked improvement is the ability to retain details in highlights. On the previous model, bright areas were easily blown out, but there's a lot more detail now. There is a sacrifice to be made in detail in dark areas though, which we found when shooting in low autumnal light. But then again, this camera comes from California, where they love the sun after all. The Black Edition outshines the silver and white edition in this aspect due to its better low light capture abilities. Compared to the competition, such as the £100 cheaper Sony HDR AS15, which already has Wi-Fi built in for live streaming, identical frame rates at 1080p and 720p, plus a stereo microphone and speaker compared to the GoPro's mono and no speaker, and the £160 cheaper Drift HD, which has a built-in colour screen and more buttons for menu navigation. Is the GoPro really worth the extra money? In a word, yes. Especially if you're a professional videographer, because of the wide range of resolutions and frame rates it offers. And yes again, if you want a small, light camera that is capable across a wide range of environmental conditions. If you're not that worried about weight or size and looking for a cheaper alternative, then the Sony offers a great picture for less money and does pretty much the same job. Depending where you want to use it, the GoPro already has a mature range of mounting accessories. They're still a little flimsy and overpriced, and yes, they're difficult to attach with cold or gloved hands, but it does mean that you can attach the camera to pretty much anything that moves. With the Hero 3, the main takeaway in terms of image quality was the improved detail in highlighted areas, but when shooting into the light you can lose a lot of information in the dark areas of the image. The menu system is still a little frustrating too, but the LCD touchscreen would probably negate that annoyance, and I hope the free GoPro app, which we'll look at in some depth in a future video, will do the same job as the touchscreen. as well as making framing and lining up of shots and shooting a more controlled and easier affair. Now, whether you splash your cash for this pretty awesome camera depends upon your particular uses, whether it's for extreme sports or simply just for blogging, no matter where you are. This is a superb example of what can be achieved in such a small overall package. If you have any questions in regards to any GoPro camera, feel free to pop across to the GoPro user forums, where you'll find me and hundreds of other experienced users ready to answer all your questions. Alternatively, feel free to leave a comment below. Keep an eye on this channel for more GoPro videos, backpack reviews, editing tips and tutorials all coming very soon. Please feel free to like this video, it really does help me out. Don't forget to subscribe though, as you'll automatically be entered into my 2013 monthly giveaway. Click the logo above for more details. See you soon on IFTY's Tech Corner.